The Harvestman, Act 3. Final, the Feast of Bone and Soil. The night after the body was found, sleep was impossible. Jason lay tense beside Rachel, his chest rising in shallow, uneven breaths. Every creak of the farmhouse set his jaw tighter. Every shift of wind in the corn made Rachel's stomach knot. She kept her eyes fixed on the ceiling, whispering silently to herself, trying to drown out the sound. Because the corn no longer just whispered. It called her name. Rachel, Rachel, Rachel. The voices were wet and dragging, like tongues against rotted teeth. At some point, she drifted into a restless half-sleep, and when she opened her eyes again, Jason was gone. She found him in the kitchen, the trapdoor open. His body moved stiffly, like a puppet tugged by unseen strings. He descended without hesitation, barefoot on the slick stone stairs. "Jason," Rachel hissed, grabbing his arm. His skin was ice-cold, his eyes rolled back. He muttered something, low and rasping. "The harvest, the harvest." She shook him, slapped him, screamed his name. He didn't stir. He only went down, step by step, into the dark. Rachel had no choice. She followed. The cellar reeked worse than before. Rot, copper, and something cloyingly sweet, like fermenting fruit. Jason walked straight toward the far wall, where the figure crouched. Rachel froze halfway down the stairs. It rose slowly. The Harvestman. Up close, its details were worse than anything she'd imagined. Its body wasn't flesh, not entirely. It was stitched together, a lattice of bone and tendon, draped in scraps of skin, hair matted with soil. Its chest was a cage of ribs tied with ropey vines, within which something pulsed, wet, alive. The antlers weren't bone, but broken limbs sharpened into spikes, dripping with sap and blood. Its face, or what passed for one, was a sagging mask of skin stretched too thin, eyes hollow pits leaking black fluid. Its mouth opened wider than human jaws should, filled not with teeth but with splinters of bone. And it smiled. Jason collapsed to his knees before it, head bowed. The Harvestman's long fingers, too many, jointed, wrong, brushed Jason's hair like a blessing. "Chosen," it croaked, its voice like rust grinding on stone. Rachel's legs nearly buckled. She turned and ran, scrambling up the stairs, slamming the trapdoor shut. She dragged a heavy table over it, heart hammering, lungs clawing for air. Below, she heard the Harvestman laugh, a sound that rattled the walls. Jason returned at dawn. His clothes were wet, smeared with soil. His skin looked pale, grayish. Rachel grabbed him, sobbing. "We have to leave, right now." But his eyes were wrong. Too calm, too distant. "The harvest isn't finished," he said softly. She slapped him hard. Tears streaked her face. "Jason, please, that thing isn't real. We can get out, we can." He grabbed her wrist. His grip was iron. "You can't leave, Rachel. None of us can. We belong to the soil." She tore free, stumbling back, horrified. Jason only smiled. That evening, lanterns bobbed in the distance. The townsfolk came. Dozens of them, faces blank, eyes reflecting firelight. They gathered silently in the yard, forming a circle around the farmhouse. Rachel tried the truck. The engine was gone. Literally gone. The hood lifted to reveal nothing but empty space where machinery had been. Jason stood on the porch, watching them approach, expression serene. "They kept the harvest alive for generations," he said, almost reverently. "Every autumn, a life for the fields, blood for the soil, flesh for the roots." Rachel backed away, her chest tight. "You knew." He looked at her then, and for a moment, her Jason was there, frightened, broken. "I didn't want to believe it. But when I went down, it showed me everything." the bargains, the sacrifice. Without it, the crops die, the town dies. Then let it die, she screamed. But Jason only shook his head. And behind him, the trapdoor began to rattle. The boards splintered. The table scraped aside as if shoved by enormous hands. The trapdoor flew open, and the harvest man rose. The townsfolk fell to their knees as one, heads bowed. Some whispered, some wept. Rachel stumbled backward, her scream caught in her throat. The creature stepped onto the porch, towering, dripping, the air around it heavy with rot. It spread its arms wide, and the crowd chanted, "Harvest, harvest, harvest." The harvest man's head tilted, black pits for eyes fixing on Rachel. It pointed one finger, and the crowd surged. They dragged her screaming to the barn, where old wooden beams groaned above. Ropes hung ready, slick with old stains. The air stank of decay. Jason followed, silent, his face blank. They bound her wrists, spread eagle, the ropes cutting into her skin. She fought until her voice broke, until blood slicked her hands. The harvest man entered, stooping to fit through the door. It loomed closer, its mouth splitting wider, rows of bone splinters clattering together. It pressed one long finger to Rachel's chest, and she felt its roots, threading into her veins, dragging her blood downward, into the soil. She screamed, convulsed, as visions flooded her mind. Generations sacrificed, bodies ploughed into fields, their flesh turned to mulch, their souls bound forever to the corn. She saw her own face among them, pale, hollow, mouth stuffed with husks. She begged Jason with her eyes, but Jason only bowed. "The soil remembers," he whispered. Rachel's body sagged as the harvest man's roots burrowed deeper. Her skin split, peeling in strips. Her mouth filled with dirt, choking her. The townsfolk chanted louder, some swaying, some clawing their own faces in ecstasy. She thought she was dying. Then something shifted. Deep inside, past the pain, past the terror, something ancient stirred. Not the harvest man's roots, but hers. Her blood boiled. Her vision sharpened. And she realized with a sudden, feral clarity, this wasn't just feeding. It was seeding. The harvest man wasn't consuming her. It was planting her. She woke at dawn, lying in the field. The ropes were gone. The townsfolk scattered. Jason was nowhere. Her body was different. Stronger. Her skin pale as bone. Her veins dark as soil. The whispers in the corn were no longer frightening. They were familiar. She stood slowly, the stalks parting around her like worshippers. Somewhere in the distance, Jason screamed. And Rachel smiled, because she was hungry. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like and a comment of what you thought of the story. And don't forget to subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it.